Hello, 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 hello. We are live. We are live for your everyday English fluency lesson right here on YouTube. I'm Jennifer Nascimento, and you are watching English Outside the Boxes, my everyday English lesson. So we are here. You are here because you want to learn English. I am an American English teacher, and I help you learn everyday English skills. Skills in English that you need to survive every single day. So if you are having difficulty watching this video, then you might want to try to reset your browser. Yes, so I always get some comments in the chat about not being able to hear or see. So if there's ever an issue with the sound or the video in these live lessons, then make sure you just hit refresh on your YouTube screen. So if you're just joining me for the first time, I would love to know where you're watching from. There are tons of familiar faces already in the chat. I see you. Hello and welcome back. So today we're talking about a very important pronunciation principle, a very important pronunciation topic. We're talking about contractions. So contractions are a huge part of American English natural speech and pronunciation. And contractions are used all the time. We use contractions in conversations when we speak, even in professional settings. Contractions don't always mean slang or informality. Contractions are a part of everyday English. So we're reviewing it because you need to know how to say contractions naturally, and you need to know how to hear them so you recognize what people are saying when you're communicating in English. So again, we're talking about contractions, and we're going to go into a very specific topic to really help you focus and improve your pronunciation by talking about contractions with not. Now, I'm saying not a little exaggeratingly, so it's not how I would say it normally. Normally, I would say not. We're talking about contractions with not. And that is another small area we're going to review today as well, is that ending T. So I said that we're going to talk about contractions with not. So notice that the ending T sound in not sounds a little different than a normal t. So the American T can be so tricky. It can be so challenging because there are 4 different ways we say the T in American English. We can say it like a T. We can say it like a D. Sometimes it's held and it sounds almost like an N. And other times it's held and not produced. A sound is not produced at all. And so that's what we're really talking about here with not and contractions with not. So we're talking about contractions specifically today because it's Pronunciation Week in the Conversation Club, and all of the members of my fluency training program are reviewing contractions with you. So this is an extra bonus for them, a bonus for you to further your pronunciation with contractions. So as I said, we're going to get right into it. And there are a couple of other contraction video lessons that you can review that I've already done that will be a great complement, a great additional resource to this video. So the links for those videos will be up here soon. And they're going to be in a full English lesson as part of this lesson. So as you know, hopefully you know that after these YouTube live lessons, I write the notes, the examples, and the explanations of what we talk about in this video. You can review those lesson notes, see those examples, review the details on my website at EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. So let's get right into it. Let's again quickly review that American T when it comes at the end of a word. For example, N-O-T, not. Now, what you should notice is, again, I'm not producing the t sound. I am not releasing my tongue, pushing air through the mouth to produce the t sound. Instead, the ending T is held. And what you want to notice is the position of my mouth, specifically my tongue, and where my tongue goes and stays to produce this sound. So when we say a word that ends in a T, again, we're going to hold that T, meaning your tongue moves into the position of the T, up behind your top front teeth, and it stays there. It holds the sound. For example, not, and my tongue stays in the t, t, okay? Kind of hard to do because my teeth get in the way, but when you make the T sound, it goes T, and it drops down. Your tongue drops down. But again, when a word ends in a T, it just holds the sound. It's not produced. So I want everyone watching live or the replay to give it a try. To try to say not and hold your tongue. Not. 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 Okay? So practice, practice, practice with that ending T sound as we get into it today. So other words that end in a T: don't, can't, cat, boat, great, not. Trying to look around the room here. So you can see that all of those have the same mouth position. Not, cat, don't, can't. Okay, my tongue is staying up behind my front teeth. So perhaps you have already noticed the challenge of understanding an American English speaker when they say can, C-A-N, and can't, C-A-N-T. Because naturally when we say it, because the T is held, it's very difficult to understand. So there are so many times in conversations with my friends, with my family, with other native English speakers that we have to ask for clarification. If someone says, I can't go, it's like, wait, you can or you cannot? Can't. Okay. Because the can and the can't sound so similar. So as you heard in the examples of words that end with a T, we used don't and can't, which are examples of contractions with not. Do not, cannot, don't, can't, okay? And we're going to go into all of the examples, all of the contractions with not, and I'm going to be giving you an example so you can, of course, review the grammar, hear the structure, but most importantly, practice the shadowing technique, copying what you hear me say, repeating, checking your own pronunciation, checking your own mouth position, and reviewing this sound. All right. And so just in case you're thinking or wondering how you are going to be using these contractions with not. So you are going to be using these in negative sentences, and you're also going to be using contractions with not a lot in tag questions. Tag questions. And tag questions are incredibly common, aren't they? Okay, so tag questions are a huge part of conversation as well. All right, so what I want you guys to do is try to listen and repeat these contractions with me. If you want, you can definitely try writing what you hear in the live chat box, commenting your own examples underneath this video, or participating in any way that you can, even if it's on your own piece of paper, at your desk, wherever you are. The key is participation and trying to follow along. So I'm going to be reading some sentences, and I just don't want to forget anything. So you might see my eyes moving a little bit, but that's because I don't want to miss anything important. So let's start with contractions with not and do. For example, don't, doesn't, didn't. Again, don't, doesn't, and didn't. Okay, notice the tongue staying up and not releasing for that t. So as we link it together in sentences, it might change slightly, but you're still not going to pronounce that ending T. For example, don't, I don't go. I don't go. I don't go. Doesn't. He knows, doesn't he? Doesn't he? Doesn't he? And didn't. We didn't want to. We didn't want to. Didn't want to. We didn't want to. Moving on to the contractions with be and not. We have isn't, aren't, wasn't, weren't. Isn't, aren't, wasn't, weren't. That's crazy, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? They aren't doing that. They aren't doing that. Aren't doing that. And she was there, wasn't she? She was there, wasn't she? And I can't believe you weren't there. Weren't there. Weren't there. So you can see that in that sentence, I can't believe you weren't there. We have two contractions, can't and weren't. And the ending T in weren't is not pronounced, but linked together with the TH in there. I can't believe you weren't there. So my tongue moves from behind my top front teeth out in between my teeth for the TH sound. How are we doing so far? How are we doing so far? Are you guys okay? Are we understanding this? Any questions? Let me know in the chat. And because, Rafael, this is a pronunciation lesson, we're focusing on pronunciation and teaching you how to do it. So this is exactly that. Perfect, Pauline. Okay, moving on with have. Have. So we have haven't, hasn't, hadn't. Noticing that ending T is never pronounced. Haven't, hasn't, hadn't. For example, I haven't been there. I haven't been there. I haven't been there. I haven't been there. He hasn't called yet. He hasn't called yet. He hasn't called yet. And we'd been there, hadn't we? Hadn't we? Hadn't we? We'd been there, hadn't we? Okay. And then moving on to modals. Modals and modal-like verbs because we're going to include will. So modals are auxiliary verbs, and I'll include a lesson up here at the end on about modals as well. So modals are auxiliary verbs, and they are verbs that help in a sentence. So they give extra meaning, advice, necessity, warning, etc. So modals we have will not, won't, wouldn't, can't, couldn't, shouldn't. Won't, wouldn't, can't, couldn't, shouldn't. Examples? I won't think about it. And again, notice the transition of the ending T in won't and the TH in think. I won't think about it. I won't think about it. I won't think about it. You wouldn't believe that. You wouldn't believe that. You wouldn't believe that. We can go, can't we? We can go, can't we? Can't we? We can go, can't we? She couldn't hear you. Couldn't hear. She couldn't hear you. She couldn't hear you. And you shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat that. Shouldn't eat that. We're not really going to review might and must. With the negative not contraction, these are not common in American English. You're not really going to hear mustn't and mightn't in conversations. So we're not really going to review them here right now. So checking in with the chat. All right. So again, we're talking about contractions with not in American English to help you sound a little more natural. So we're really focusing this lesson going into specifics with not to really help you master and perfect that sound. When you're studying English, you want to give yourself really focused goals and tasks when you study each time. Yes, I could review every single contraction in this video. I could make this video 2 hours long, but it's not going to be any better for you, okay? You might stop watching. You are not going to be able to learn everything if you don't focus it for each lesson. So that's why we're focusing this lesson with not. So we looked at contractions with not. Don't, doesn't, didn't, isn't, aren't, wasn't, weren't, haven't, hasn't, hadn't, won't, wouldn't, can't, couldn't, shouldn't. Woo! Let's try that one more time. And I want you watching live, or I want you watching the replay to repeat them as quick as you can with me, okay? Really focusing on that mouth position, that tongue position of your ending T. Do not release that sound, okay? So are you guys ready? Are we ready? Are we going to do this together? Let's see. All right. We're going to go into don't, doesn't, didn't, isn't, aren't, wasn't, weren't, haven't, hasn't, hadn't, won't, wouldn't, can't, couldn't, shouldn't. Woo-hoo! Okay, whew, nicely done. So you want to just practice repeating, 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 repeating. Really get comfortable with the ending T. Really get comfortable adding the rest of the words, the modals, the auxiliaries into the contraction and get comfortable there. Then start adding those sentences. Start adding the sentences that we reviewed today. Practice makes perfect. So you're gonna want, if we're gonna sound natural, you're gonna want to create your own sentences as well. So I gave you a sentence to practice using each of the contractions, but you wanna write some sentences that are relevant to you, talking about your life and things that you need or you want. So yes, I've been studying English for a while. And I think sometimes it's easier to speak like that, but I think we can be misunderstood. Rafael, I'm not really sure what your question, what do you mean speak like that? What do you mean like that? So let me know and we can talk about it. So yes, so practice makes perfect. Do you want to practice repeating the ending T, repeating the contraction word, and then repeating the sentences, and then starting in with your own? So this video, watching this lesson, reading the lesson on my website, English Outside the Box, that's all step number one, okay? Step number one is just learning the information, getting the information, and reviewing the information. So you have to finish these steps of learning. You definitely have to do the next steps. Step 2 is practicing and repeating. Step 3 is creating your own sentences. Step 4 is using it in your next conversation. Step 5 is continuing to use it. Step 6, continuing. So you have to take the steps to continue learning, practicing, and applying this information. So I do want to talk about a question from the live chat. I've been studying English for a while, and I think sometimes it's easier to speak with contractions, but I think we can be misunderstood. So if you're using the right contractions and you're saying the contractions correctly, you shouldn't be misunderstood because it's what especially native speakers are used to hearing. So if you want to take the steps to sound more natural and more native-like and increase and improve your pronunciation, adding contractions into your speech will be huge. Because if you say, oh, I will not do that, I will not do that, I will not, and you use the whole sentence, your accent and other things, including your use of will not, will tell someone you are not a native English speaker. So it's a sign when people don't use contractions in casual conversations. It's often a sign that English isn't their first or their native language, because it happens commonly and so naturally with native speakers. I don't think about when I use contractions. I just use them. I just do it. So you watching, you learning English, want to take those next steps in learning how to use them more naturally. So practicing this as well. So when you're practicing, if you need to practice alone, if you don't have anyone to practice with, then make sure you always use a video or an audio at least, but video is recommended. Make sure you use a recording device, because your tongue position is important. Your mouth positions to make the vowel sounds are important. How it sounds is important. If you're not saying it correctly, you could be misunderstood. So you want to have a recorded version of your sentence examples. You want to record yourself speaking and compare it to this video, compare it to this audio. Does your mouth look the same? If it doesn't, well, then you need to take the steps to fix it, changing the muscles and movement of your mouth, your jaw, your tongue, your lips. So pronunciation is very important to have the correct mouth position. So when you record yourself, you're able to check the accuracy of your sounds. And of course, when you show, when you have a recording and you compare with my audio, you can see if it sounds the same. And then that, Rafael and anyone, is going to be showing you if you're saying it correctly. So that's the best. Practice repeating, reading, listening, practice repeating. The best, though, is to practice with a partner. So as I mentioned, this lesson today was a complement to the pronunciation lesson we're talking about in the Conversation Club. So I saw Pauline, I saw Dora, I saw Louise, I saw my Conversation Club members in the chat. So how is this going? Hopefully this contraction with not will be an extra support to the lesson as well. And you watching can also become a Conversation Club member. And the benefit of joining the Conversation Club and joining this monthly fluency training program is not only to get the materials every week, to get the videos, the audio, to get the PDF, it's also the ability and the opportunity to speak more English. You're going to be connected to a conversation partner, and with that conversation partner, you can practice the pronunciation you reviewed in this lesson today. You can practice the pronunciation that we're reviewing in the club this week, and you can practice English pronunciation to sound more natural. Together, you can help each other. So we'll also have group conversation calls. There's conversation meetups that you guys need to join, and other opportunities to practice your speaking with a partner and with me. So the important part of practicing with somebody else is getting that feedback. So the pronunciation focus this week in the Conversation Club are contractions with you, because you doesn't often sound like you in a contraction. There are 3 different sounds that contractions with you make. So we review that in the Conversation Club, and if you want to learn more, learn with me, and connect with others, then you can join too. The link is in the description of this video, or you can go to bit.ly/pvclub1, and you can join the Conversation Club as well. If there are any other questions, let me know. Write them below this video, write them in the chat. Let me know if you need any additional sentences or examples. And remember that you can watch this video replay on my YouTube channel or on my website with the full lesson notes. The full lesson notes, the details, everything you need for extra support of today's lesson is going to be on my website, EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. Click on the top where it says free blog lessons, and those are going to connect. That link is going to connect you with tons of English materials and resources. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and you can join me every single Tuesday at this same time for more everyday fluency English lessons. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, I will see you soon. And as always, happy studying, everybody. Good luck with your contractions. Practice, practice, and I'll see you soon.